So right in front of me, I have the Pixel 4, hands down the most leaked smartphone in smartphone history. I can put all of my money on that. But I was still excited for the event because even though we knew all the hardware features, we didn't know all the software features, which is probably the most important thing that Google does. Well, this is the regular Pixel 4. This is 5.7 inches. This one is the clearly white model. So slightly smaller than the iPhone in terms of screen size, but overall has a bigger form factor. In the box, we have your typical stuff. We have a bunch of cables, manuals I'm not gonna read, a little circular SIM tool. We have a USB Type-C cable to charge the device. We have a USB to Type-C converter that comes out of the box. And then right in here, we have the 18-watt power delivery brick. This will allow you to quickly charge your device. And if you don't feel like using fast charging, you can use wireless charging because that is still on the Pixel 4. Now, as usual, especially you, I'm talking to you, Frank, you gotta take it down a notch. It's time to remove the plastic. Now, I'll be straight up with you. This is not one of my favorite designs for a smartphone. It's very utilitarian, it's simple, and that's great. But I think it looks more like a design from a couple of years ago, and I'm okay with that too, because it's still a somewhat good-looking design. What Google has done instead is opted for more practicality features. Like holding this device is super comfortable. It just feels great in the hand. It's a little bit thicker, at least like it feels a little bit thicker. You have this black brushed aluminum going along the sides. You have a glass back, which feels like very similar to the glass back of the iPhone 11 Pro for context. You have the square camera bump. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a wide lens or ultra wide lens. It's using a regular wide lens and telephoto lens. You do have the orange power button on the side. I love that accent color. It gives some uniqueness to this device. And you do have a little bit chunkier bezels on the bottom and top. On the top, it's mandatory because there's a bunch of new sensors inside of here. You have a new Soli sensor, which I'll get into quite shortly, but basically it uses radar to detect your actions, what they're calling motion sense. So I got the device booted up, everything is installed, dark theme immediately activated because it looks really good on the Pixel lineup. I just noticed this display. If you've been waiting for a high refresh rate on a Pixel device, they did it this year. It's 90 Hertz, but it's not always active. Now, one of the main features is motion sense. I talked about this not too long ago, and I got to play with it at the event. I can't show you right now, but I'll show you some footage I took over there, and it works very simple. You basically wave your hand over the phone to provide some sort of function to the device. So for example, if you're listening to music and you want to change to the next song, swipe your hand over it and it'll change to the next song. I did find it a little bit finicky, and this could possibly be because there's still a few updates that are being rolled out before we're allowed to review this device, but it does work. And I think once it's fine-tuned, it's gonna be a very fun feature to use, especially if other developers jump on board and implement it into their applications. Because right now, the basic features it provides is like changing songs, maybe like lowering the volume and then muting a phone call. The other thing that I really like is the fact that Face Unlock is hands down the fastest I've ever used compared to any other smartphone. Faster than Face ID. And Google says that it's more secure than Face ID as well. And it was a little bit of a pain to set up, but once it's installed, my God, the angles this phone can take will unlock the device immediately. Like it could be a little bit off, or maybe you put your head a little bit over, and the device will still unlock, which is super important considering there's no longer a fingerprint scanner on the back. The next thing to note is the speaker situation. On all previous Pixel devices, you had two front-facing speakers. You still have two speakers, but you have one on the bottom, and then you have one that's embedded into the earpiece. So I have the Pixel 3 over here. Let's find out which one plays the better sound. So sound on the Pixel 4 is definitely cleaner. It has more volume, not volume, but depth to it, whereas I find the Pixel 3 to get a little bit louder, but that just could be my ears fooling me since both speakers are on front of the display. The next thing is the cameras. Like that's the big thing behind Pixel phones. People love these devices because of the camera setup. Now, unfortunately, they didn't go with the ultra wide. I would have loved to have it on this device, whether was it a third lens or even over the telephoto lens. But I understand why they incorporated a telephoto lens instead of an ultra-wide lens. Having that telephoto lens helps provide more data when they're doing their computational photography, especially when you have to read depth. When you're doing a macro shot, perhaps when you're doing a portrait shot, the telephoto lens will help out. Whereas an ultra-wide lens, sure, you'll get that nice wide shot, but it really doesn't add much information compared to having a standard telephoto lens. But one thing they did not talk about, and I mean at all, was video. And that was kind of disappointing because that was the one area that the Pixel was lacking. And I spoke to one of the representatives, and his reasoning behind it was because there was no breaking features this year to really discuss about video, so he felt that it wasn't a topic they were going to discuss. And I find that disappointing because I want good video on the Pixel 4. Now, hands down, one of my favorite announcements from this event was their new transcribe functionality in the Recorder app. This thing is on steroids. If you are talking, the Recorder app will record your audio, but also transcribe it at the same time. It is so accurate and so quick that it does it on the fly. The best part about it is the phone does not have to be connected to the internet. So even if it's on airplane mode and you quickly need to take a note and you want to transcribe something, the phone is going to be able to do it for you. Now, a bunch of people asked, can you copy whatever text you wrote from the app and paste it into a document? You absolutely can. You can also search for words that were transcribed and find it in the audio recording so you can just listen to that specific portion. I think this is really powerful, especially if you're a student, you're in class, you want to get your teacher recorded so you don't have to type down any notes. This is going to come in very handy. So anyways, that wraps up my first impressions, little review of the Pixel 4. Let me know if you have any questions about this device in the comments below. I'm very curious how this device is going to be on day-to-day. I'm going to be switching to it. I'm excited for it because I want to see how Google software affects my life on a day-to-day basis, especially when you start pairing some of their new hardware products. How's it going to interact with the Pixelbook Go? How's it going to interact with the new Nest Mini? And when the Pixel Buds come out, how is this ecosystem going to look like compared to others? Is it going to take me away from some of the great things that Apple does? Will I find a different Android phone that I find to be a lot more enjoyable to use? But right now, I'm switching to this, and I'm kind of excited for it. Anyways, drop your questions about this device. I'll answer them in my full review. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you beautiful people in the next video.